craven, the hunter, who uses all the methods of the animals.
This Thursday.
Once you're on his list, there's only one way off.
Are you like your father?
He puts evil into the world. I get rid of people like him.
Who's next?
Witness the making of a new Marvel villain.
You think you're some kind of honor. You're a criminal, just like our father.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is Craven the Hunter. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent. In theaters Thursday.
You're listening to Achtung, Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Well, hello, dear listeners. It never rains, but it pours at Millwall. And joining me now to chew over the shock, and I don't think that's too bad a choice of words, the shock announcement that Millwall FC and Neil Harris have confirmed a mutual decision for him to step down from his role. After following the trip to Middlesbrough on Saturday, we're losing Neil Harris, basically, listeners. We'll have him tomorrow night against Sheffield and then at Middlesbrough, Riverside Stadium on Saturday. But joining me to chew over the madhouse, that is the Millwall chaos, is Michael Avery. Hopefully we'll get some of the other boys along the call as it goes along. We are doing this as an emergency reaction to this shock news. Michael, what did we say the other day? A week is a long time in football. It's an eternity at Millwall, isn't it? It's not 7 days, 8, 9, 10 days now since we were leading at Oxford at half time, and sitting reasonably well for the for the top six.
Yeah, and you know what? Funny enough, like I said this to someone the other day, and a lot of the feedback that you seem to be hearing and seeing online seems to be more with a style of play rather than the results, which is people are entitled to their opinions. You know, they pay their money, they go to games and all this kind of stuff. But I always chuckle to myself whenever I heard, people saying we're not playing particularly well and all this kind of stuff, because I'll be like, as we said when he came back in, you know what type of football you're getting with Neil Harris. Yeah, we knew when he first came back in. He was only meant to be for 18 months. It's now proved it's obviously shorter than that, but there was always the thing with the 18 months hanging over him. But we've only lost 1 in 10. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No. And you tell me a time, and let's be honest, if anyone wants to go back through the library and listen to it, you can. But I was one of the ones who was a bit like, I'm not sure about Neil Harris coming back. Is it a backward step, etc., etc. But perspective, we lost 1 in 10. It weren't so long ago that we was like one of the most informed sides in the country, let alone like points wise, let alone the championship. And you tell me a time. I know we got a little bit used to it under Gary Rowett, but you tell me a time in the last 20, 25 years, Millwall before Christmas would be in and around the top 10. Yes, you normally have that late run, but Millwall notoriously were always slow starters. It's got to be something behind the scenes without trying to be a...
It must be. I mean,
it's got to be.
I'm just waiting for Aaron to join us, but clearly there's been a soap opera at the club this season. I was just thinking back to the end of May. We had that victory at the end of last season. We'd escaped relegation thanks to, in large part, to Neil Harris's efforts, and they're singing Tanganga 500 Miles songs, and I've never seen a happier looking squad. Let's bring in Aaron. Aaron, are you there? Are you there?
Uncle Nick, I'll tell you what, when I read the news in our group chat, I was actually sat with another Neil Warnock, and we just talked about a job in South London. I said, Neil, if there's one club you should have managed in your career, it is Millwall Football Club. You guys would have gone so well. And he was like, yeah, I love them, great club, blah, 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 blah. And we finished the show, Christmas special. So then I typed that, I go, what happened with Muscat? I was like, mate, 72 plus Christmas special, by the way, available on BBC Sounds in the coming week. I said to him, I was like, oh, Neil Harris has resigned. He turned around, he's like, no, you're taking the piss. I was like, no, he hasn't. And he goes, yeah, and the rest out. And he walked in, I've got to get my train. I've just texted him, I'm waiting for his reaction.
Football's a madhouse, Aaron. Football's a madhouse. We're 6 points off of the magic playoff zone, and we've had an unbeaten run of 9 games. Michael's just mentioned we had a disappointing result at home to Coventry Saturday, makeshift side. and now we're losing a manager of such standing. I don't understand football. You're around it a lot. Do you understand football? I don't.
I genuinely no. Um, I found the comments very, very strong from him on Saturday. I think the Thickos line was someone who's very, very, very frustrated and maybe a touch unappreciated as well. Maybe he feels a little bit unappreciated.
I think,
I think
yeah.
issue we've had at this football club stems back to Gary Rowett, and I say it from Gary Rowett was the creator of his own downfall, because at the end of the day, he took a team that were perennially looking behind them, worried about relegation, League One, League One, League One, to a team that were pissed off, a supporter base that was pissed off when they don't make the
Yeah.
playoffs. And now the problem is that Neil Harris has come in. I think there's a stat that says that no other football club has won more points in the
Yeah,
Championship
I've
in this
seen that.
calendar year than
Yep.
Mill. I'm pretty
Yep.
sure
Yep.
that was the one.
Yep.
He's done a remarkable job. We know what we're going to get from him. It's refreshing. It's honest. He loves that football club. He bleeds it black and blue. He's obsessed with this Millwall Football Club. The problem he's got is that there's an expectation on this football club now to do a certain way and do things in a certain way and to perform in a certain way. Someone just asked me. They asked me like, "What's gone wrong?" And I turned around. I was like, honestly, I think he needed to be supported a bit better in terms of recruitment. I think if you look at the market that Millwall is shopping in, when you look at Leeds United shopping at the proverbial Marks and Spencers, Millwall shopping at the old cost cutters at the moment. You know,
The
we're looking for
99p
deals.
store.
Mate, literally finding Jaffet Tanganga was like getting like, you know, a £10 Charlie Bigham's ready meal for about 79 pence. Get it. Don't give a shit. Mate, I don't even eat pizza. I'm lactose intolerant, but get it. We'll have it. Like the recruitment has been questionable. They've brought in players. There's been injuries. There's been issues all along the way. But this team seems to continually grind out results. I also wonder if this contract situation has anything to do with it. He signed an 18-month deal when he come in. We're in December. There's no new contract on the horizon. Why is he building a team for someone else to come and destroy? Yeah. There was discussions between him and the chairman. The chairman, James, obviously taken over from his late father, John. We need to look past this whole my father's legacy situation now. This is the James Berylson
Yes, it
era.
is.
We remember John and look at what he did and the stability he gave Millwall Football Club and what he offered Millwall Football Club. But this is James's time now. James has made some big calls in his time, bringing in Joe Edwards when Nathan Jones was gutted not to get the job. Didn't work out. Neil Harris came in. He's saved this football club. He's got them back on an upward trajectory. I'm not sitting there saying Millwall, they'll get automatics, but shit me, they're one of about 10 teams that could get into the
And I'll
playoffs.
throw some other big calls into that. Well, just to interrupt you, Aaron. I mean, you're right. Joe Edwards and so on. Getting rid of Steve Kavanagh and Billy Taylor and Alex Aldrich in the summertime. Big calls. We've lost a lot of it.
And people who know Neil Harris well.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of Millwall experience that's been thrown away with the puddle water that I keep seeing pictures of at the Coldblow Lane exit, where there's a building site. It's all been thrown away. For it strikes me for not much. I mean, I'm not seeing the evidence for the benefit for that.
The only thing that could sort of like brighten my day is if I see Lurch as interim manager,
It's everything
for
else.
Sheffield United. I wonder, and I can't stick around for too long, guys.
No.
I'm rushing
Yeah.
here, there, and everywhere. But I wonder what that atmosphere will be like at the Den tomorrow night. I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to it. But I'm also not looking forward to it because a midweek under the lights can produce some special performances. I think back to Burnley a couple of seasons ago, in the season that Mill nearly got to the playoffs, and I mean, like,
Well, this season
Den
we've not
can.
long beaten Burnley, who I see a third in the table with an array of riches in their side, and Leeds.
If there's one thing you can say to sum up this Neil Harris era, that the sort of forthcoming and whatever you want to call it, he harnessed the power of that stadium once again, something that the two previous managers had failed to do. Neil Harris encapsulated what it was to be a Millwall fan, what it was to feel that concrete jungle shaking. There was something special about it. Embraced it. He made it going again. Hard work, passion, desire. That's all supporters want. They don't want tippy tappy shit. Some of them might because they're in this newfangled era, but hard work, passion, desire. I know what you're going to ask me. is there someone on the horizon? There's one name, Mark Robbins. That is it. Mark Robbins. Mark Robbins has got the cut of a Millwall
Mhm.
manager, hasn't he?
It would be a great choice. And now that we're into the reality of it, and I would love Mark Robbins because I think the job he did with Coventry was semi
Yeah,
miraculous.
done a great job.
And
Done a great job.
we're getting rid of a man that did a semi miraculous job in saving us from League One last season. Aaron, before you go, and I know you're on the hoof. I see that you're working at the moment, but I just want to assess Neil Harris's contribution as a player. I said this on the show the other day. As a player, club record goal scorer. His goals shot us into promotion twice via the Championship in 2000, and then the playoffs in 2010, and then as a manager in 2016, and he took us close to the playoffs, and then saved us from relegation. I can't think of anyone else at Millwall that comes anywhere close to his stature as a player and as a manager, and that's what we're losing here.
The impact he's had on that football club is seismic. You think of some of the big names that have played for the club over the years. People like uh, um, uh, Teddy
Yeah,
Sheringham, Cascarino. I put him in the Barry Kitchener level of
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
footballer.
Barry Kitchen and Harry
Yeah,
Cripps level.
He's
Yeah,
arguably he's what I labelled him Millwall's favourite son, even though he's not born in South London.
no,
I like he is that football club's favourite son. There's just something
a
about him.
giant of the Mill
As
Club.
I say,
Yeah,
you cut him open and he bleeds
yeah,
blue. He is obsessed with Millwall Football Club. He knows what it means to run Millwall Football Club. He knows what the fans want, what the den needs, what that team needs. You look at that performance. I remember Southampton away, the return of Neil Harris. My God,
yeah.
wow.
High
What an
emotional.
afternoon.
It was,
Russell Martin playing what I call shitty
yeah,
tacker, trying to get the ball around and Millwall just doing what they do best, and the fans were unbelievable. And do you know what? It was emotional. It was really emotional seeing him at the end and going and doing the interview and having a chat with him. And you know, what a man! What a man! I'm so lucky that I get to call him a colleague as well because we work
yeah, yeah,
together.
yeah,
He's a wonderful
yeah.
colleague. He's been brilliant doing media stuff, and I hope that he comes back and does bits for me. Obviously, the invitation's been extended to him, but Millwall Football Club needs to make a big decision now, and I think that decision has to go towards Mark Robbins because they need someone who's going to be able to harness what Neil Harris has done, what he's added, what he's brought back to the football club, but take it forward. This can't be a decision where it's like, oh, we'll see, we'll experiment. You experiment, you fuck around in this division, and you will find out very, very quickly. You look at teams dropping like stones. It happens,
Well,
mate. It
well said.
happens. You look at Birmingham
Yeah,
City last
yeah,
year. Birmingham City. If they get it wrong, this could be Birmingham City Mark
yeah.
2.
I
And
agree.
I, for one, you know how much love I've got for this football club. I, for one, really hope it doesn't go this way. So, uh, James Berylson and the board, Steve Gallant,
Mm.
make the right decision. Go and get Mark Robbins. Go and get someone who's gonna harness the power of the Den once again, mate.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming on, Aaron. Short notice, mate. Really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, Uncle Nick. Always a
I'll see you
pleasure.
tomorrow night.
Catch you
I'll
soon.
see you tomorrow night.
I'll see you down the
I'll see
Den.
you. let's hope for a result. So we've got
As the old song says, let them
come
all
down the
come down.
den. There we go. Big thank you, Aaron Paul. Nice one, mate. Cheers. Michael, I mean, it's going to be a very strange couple of games now. Sheffield United tomorrow night, Middlesbrough away on Saturday. That will be the strangest conclusion to a managerial career that I can think of off the top of my head. I find this a very sad situation. How do you feel?
Um, yeah, I do too as well, Nick. Because ultimately, like, let's not beat around the bush again. Regardless of whether you thought Harris was the right appointment at the time, whether you thought Joe Edwards should have been given more time, or anyone else should have come in, he absolutely stabilised that ship. Because let's think back to where we were.
Yeah.
We was only looking down.
Oh, we're
Our
doomed.
chairman had passed away.
Yeah.
We were doomed.
Yeah.
Like behind the scenes, there was all this going on, and and Neil Harris. We were saying at the time, and a lot of people were saying that it's a signing to keep the fans happy. It might have been, but it also turned into something that actually united the club and got us all back together because it was
Well,
toxic
it
down
did
there.
do
I
that.
remember that Sheffield
It did
Wednesday
do that.
home
I mean,
games.
I've mentioned the Tanganga video, 500 miles, and we saved ourselves and we'd won at Swansea. This is going back to May, and I suppose in retrospect, no one could see the changes that James Berylson was going to make at the night of the long lives over the summertime. We're losing Steve Kavanagh, a Marmite figure, Michael, Steve, but a very
Yeah,
experienced chief executive. Well, love him or hate him, he knew what he was doing. Billy Taylor, a very strong, and as we've seen, he's now joined Bromley. A good appointment for Bromley, and we've also
very intelligent man with football.
and a love
Billy,
and a
very
love for the
intelligent.
club. Let's say that
Yeah.
too. And then we've lost Alex Aldridge, a fan. No matter what people seem to think of him as in terms of his recruitment, there's the loss. We've lost a huge amount of Mill experience. Okay, we've brought in Mark Fairbrother and Steve Gallen. There seems to be a personality driven issue here between Neil Harris and Steve Gallen. That's been apparent all season. Underpinning
But you say that it could also be the direction the club is
well,
going in.
underpinning that is the direction set by James Berylson, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of the thing is that we always said that when Neil Harris first come in, there was questions about like is he a head coach or is he a manager?
Yeah,
And I always remember one of his first interviews when he come back, he refers to himself as manager, then he corrects himself and goes manager, oh
head
head coach,
coach.
you know.
Yeah,
So that's what that is. And yes, you have the frustrations where you can't pick the managers. Pick managers signings.
yeah,
He's got to obviously go along with what that is. But I don't know about you, Nick. Like we've been in football even as fans long enough to know that when fans or clubs put statements out, it's for a reason. Something will come out and you will think, whatever. But then 2 weeks later, you'll go, that's why that went out. That's why that came out.
yeah.
Now in hindsight. There's been some interviews recently with Mark Fairbrother and Gallen, which you think don't know anything new there.
No, no, no,
But
no.
then all of a sudden, it's like, well, now we've been like a bit flat earth here
Mm,
and Illuminati.
yeah,
Are those now statements that have come out because they knew he was going, and this is their way of saying to the new people, listen to these interviews, this is what we're all about. Neil Harris, for me, doesn't seem like the type of manager or head coach that who would want to just get in a new player, nurture him up, and then sell him on. He'd want to build something.
mm,
And then what have you heard from Gallum recently? The interviews. This is what the club were trying to be.
yeah,
Fairbrother. This is what the club were trying to be. Neil Harris, he's always, apart from the Cambridge job, which was a bit of an exceptional circumstance because he left Cambridge to come back to Millwall because he felt his calling and all
yeah.
this. But he's always been at clubs for long enough to try and build something. Signings have been his. He's trying to be doing his own thing. Now, all of a sudden, you know, there's statements coming out from board level about this is the direction the club's going in. Reminder, fans, if you haven't forgotten, this is the direction we're going in. Then your manager goes.
Yeah, well, he clearly doesn't. It doesn't sit comfortably with him to develop players and then sell them on. I think that's underpinning it because that's the principle that we're working to now. I think who knows the personality clashes behind the scenes, listeners. When none of us know what goes on behind closed doors, as the old song used to sing. But it's a tremendous loss. And I mean, again, you can talk about Neil's tactics and his player choices. The choice of Bradshaw in the second half at Oxford, the choice of Langstaff, even. There's much. I think it was your voice note, Michael. You said you didn't disagree with the side on Saturday in terms of what was available. I must admit, I was looking at it. I thought, maybe Ivanovic for Langstaff, but I don't know the boys yet ready for Championship football to lead the line for the bulk of 90
And
minutes.
that's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, like I said in my voice note over him, like when I bumped into you at half
Yeah.
time. You tell me any other manager who would have picked anything different from that side with the resources he had.
There weren't many choices available because of suspensions and injuries, and that's the squad. Now you can talk about the recruitment and the rest of it, but I mean, Neil Harris is clearly not involved in the recruitment to a level that he feels comfortable with managing, and which is in practical terms what he's doing on a day by day level. And he's decided to go. It's going to be a very strange two fixtures to come. I kind of half dread to think what tomorrow night's going to be like now because Sheffield United, very decent side. I was just looking at the league table. They are top of the table. Sheffield United. In a title race with Leeds United. They're going to come down wanting 3 points with us. Who knows what impact this is going to have on the squad? It must be demoralising, and I don't know. I'm hoping that we can raise it for Neil tomorrow. He deserves it. And Aaron referred to the statistic about the number of points gained by Millwall since February when he first came back to us. That's a massive achievement, and for it to be frittered away, and I choose that word carefully, frittered away, because that's what it feels like, Michael, I think comes back to the management of Millwall Football Club, and that is going to be James Berylson at the top. It's going to be Steve Gallen as his director of football operations, and this is a huge crossroads now, because we can, we're only 6 points off the sixth spot. We're only 8 points off of Plymouth Argyle in 22nd, and this can spin out of control quite quickly. So, a big moment, a big test for them both.
Here's a question for you.
Oh.
Obviously, we can laugh and joke about it, but taking into account the Ficko's comment, which was basically.
Well, I think we now know where that was
where,
directed. I don't think it was at the fans, or maybe one or two of them.
Yeah, but here's a question for you: what reaction are the fans going to give the board and the director's box? Not Neil Harris, because I will be very surprised if he gets any kind of booing or any types of negative feedback. And I'll be honest, I would have to question what, apart from even if you thought that Ficko's comment was aimed at you, what Neil Harris has done for this football club, as we have mentioned before, where he's basically got us promoted up to the Championship. He wasn't very well, as we know. He had to have some time out of the game to receive some treatment. Yeah. He then came back and played for us. He left, came back, became a manager when, let's be honest, under Ian Holloway, because he came in as that caretaker role, we were right deep in the shit and we was in an absolute downward spiral. He saved us and then got us back up. He left at a time, went away, and then come back and saved us again. What feedback, even if you're one of the fans who thinks, you know what, it's not going the way it's going, it might be best for a change because of what I'm seeing on the pitch, what feedback do you think Gallen, Fairbrother, the board are going to get?
Neil Harris deserves nothing but the thanks and the respect that a player of his and a figure of his standing, a player and manager of his standing, should receive. Anyone that the booing at Oxford's, that's been probably done to death now. I'm going to leave that alone. But anything less than that is a disservice to a man as a giant of a figure at our football club. It's a big thing. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, the Berylson family money underpins our football club, and it's one thing to John Berylson. I think probably was the like the kind of the wise figure at the head of the family. Who knows what Jimmy Berylson is like? He's making some decisions at the moment that are big calls, and big calls are great when you win, and not so great when you lose. So we're going to find out fairly soon. Joe Edwards was the previous big call he made, which didn't work out. I could see the intention behind what he was trying to do there, but it didn't work out. This is a big call now. I think he needs someone in place fast with some measure of experience in the game. And I mean, Aaron's named Mark Robbins, and I would be very, very happy if we get Mark Robbins. I've just seen a message here recommending Steve Cooper, but I think he might be a bit out of our. He might be someone for within our price range. I don't know, but we need to make that call fast, Michael, and it's going to be on the board because no one else makes these decisions. So James Berylson, Steve Gallen, if you're listening, there's very little thank yous in football. There's only ever brickbats if you get it wrong. And when you do get it right, it's somebody else's glory. Welcome to the world of professional sport.
I'll tell you what. Time stamp this now. We're recording 17 minutes past 1 on the 10th of December.
And I haven't had my dinner yet, listeners.
I reckon SA's gone, and that might be one of the reasons why.
There we are. We'll come back to it. Michael, I'm going to let you crack along. You're at your lunch. I'm going to go and have my dinner. And big thank you to Aaron for joining our show, Impromptu Emergency Podcast. I'm going to try and put this out ASAP, so you're going to get it raw Raw dogged, listeners. We'll be back, no doubt, after tomorrow's game and tomorrow's drama. And I'm going to have a look at my WhatsApp messages now because I'm being bombarded with stuff. People seem to think I've got some inside track on it. Oh, God, I don't know. I didn't know this was going to happen.
Of course not. You're talking about on Wall
What-
Talk. That's the
it's Wall
Patreon.
Talk.
That's
That's
the
all
extra.
it
There's a cutting room floor version of
mate.
Wall Talk where you discuss the next
I'm
manager.
like Zeus in Olympus moving the chess pieces of human life around. Oh dear. Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
Hello?
Good afternoon, Nick. Calling in with my thoughts on the news that Neil Harris is going to be stepping down as Millwall manager. To be perfectly honest, been seeing this coming. Anyone who thinks that it's the Thicko comment on Saturday and the few loud voices and boos at Oxford have caused him to step down are wrong. What we've witnessed today is the end of the power struggle between him and Gallen, and there was only ever going to be one winner with that, and that was Gallen. He's carrying out the brief that he's been given by the chairman, and I don't think that Harris has been able to deal with being the head coach rather than the manager, which is a shame. I think Harris's ego got a little bit too big, being Mr. Millwall. I think he's got a little bit too big for the club. That's just my opinion. I'll probably get pelters for that one, but hey, we're all entitled to it. We're all entitled to opinions, and that's mine. All I can say is Jose wants the job. Maybe JB needs to put in a phone call to Fenerbahce and see how much the buyout clause will be. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens after Borough. Anyway, come on, you Lions.
Hello, Nick. Bill Slack. Fucking hell. It's a fucking car crash down there. Do you know what? I am really, really losing heart with it for the first time in my life. I just want to fucking stay at home and let them get on with it because I've got no faith they're not making a complete fucking mess at that football club. This really could be a Kirbishley Charlton moment for me. I'll tell you what I think has happened with Harris. He's come into that club. He's kept us in the division with absolutely miraculous run of results last year. Let's not forget the shit we were in last year. He's gone into the summer and we've spent a load of money on players with absolutely no input from the manager whatsoever because we've got this new strategy. He's then pulled up trees this season and when things have got a bit tough and there's some injuries, he's looking at his bench and thinking, Ivanovic ain't up for it. I don't rate Langstaff. There's 3 or 4 million quid sitting there of a summer budget that I could have used much better. And actually, I'm the fucking bloke standing there getting pelters off of the supporters. And I think he's just thought, fuck this. Maybe they had a discussion about who they were going to bring in January. Maybe those discussions weren't to Harris's liking, and he's just thought, bollocks, I've had enough. And I think he'll walk away thinking, how fucking ungrateful are that lot. I completely understand the frustration playing Tom Bradshaw at Oxford that second half, but that in one little example tells you what he thinks of the alternatives that he's been lumbered with. He thinks he's been lumbered with Langstaff and Ivanovic. He's looking at that bench and thinking that there ain't enough quality here for me. He's actually come out and said it. If there are any Millwall supporters out there who are glad to see the back of him, I genuinely don't know what you want out of Millwall Football Club. I genuinely don't know why you go down there. If it isn't to beat Leeds, to beat Burnley, last minute equalisers against Sunderland, to have the odd cup run, I honestly don't know what you want, and I don't know what you're expecting out of a new manager. I'm just absolutely fucking gutted, mate. I'm genuinely, I'm 54 now, so, take 5 off of that. Say our first game was at 5. 49 fucking years I've been down there, and I'm losing heart with it. I just can't deal with the fucking chaos and the fucking mess that we keep making. I can't. My 80-year-old dad genuinely just said to me, I don't know there's any fucking point in going down there anymore, mate. And that might sound dramatic, but if you can't enjoy a Millwall side being managed by Neil Harris, if being 9th or 10th ain't good enough for you, if beating Leeds and Burnley at home ain't good enough for you, I don't know what you expect. We've got no right to expect to be in the fucking playoffs with our budget, with the players that we can sign. The only reason we're in the position that we're in now because of the fucking spirit that Neil Harris embodies in that team and that club. The trouble is, you bring in a new fucking manager who's gonna start playing a new system. Again, we've seen this film before. We'll have a new system. We'll have this, that, and the other, and fucking football tactics and all the rest of it. And you know what'll happen? That fucking art, that fucking caged tigers that Harris instills in them will go. It'll be gone, and we'll be back to a fucking squad who are just not motivated. And that squad who ain't motivated, that particular squad, we've seen it. We've seen it with Edwards. You tell me who we're going to bring in, who's going to get that fucking team running around for the shirt like he does. It's just a fucking disaster. If you don't want Harris in charge, if you don't want them Knights, I don't know what you want.
Nick, it's Hassan, yeah. There's a song by the Foo Fighters, and it's called There Goes My Hero, and that's what it feels like today. Let's face it, Neil Harris to a lot of people is a hero, as is mine, and it looks like he's ridden off into the sunset again. I think this time round it's different, his resignation. I believe factors in the boardroom potentially had a big part to play. Just going based on his demeanour after the game, some of the things that he says, the slight digs at recruitment, and other comments of that nature, definitely something wasn't, well, I believe definitely something wasn't right in the boardroom there. The fans, well, I say to the fans, sections of fans, been quite critical of some decision making over the last couple of games. Hasn't probably helped. The comments from Bomber after Saturday's game was very questionable. I mean, to use the term thickos is very harsh. I get his point. You know, some people do, they're just talking about shit. But just to use that as a term, as a phrase, it's probably not wise. It's a shame, really. Because at the end of the day, you know, we would be in League One if it wasn't for him. That's a fact. He kept us in the league with bare bones. He worked with what he got. But something changed in the summer, I think. I don't think he likes this director of football business. He's not signing players. I reckon he's only had real. The only two players I reckon are his signings is probably Sean Hutchinson and Josh Coburn. And let's face it, Sean Hutchinson is, you know, for lack of a better term, he's finished. He can't do more than one game. Coburn is a sick note, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's at a bust up with the director of football, Steve Gallen, maybe the chairman as well. They'll probably turn around and say, you know, we've given you players, you're not playing them. We've signed two players that you wanted, and they're both crocs. But we don't know. It's crazy, really. You know, we said bye-bye to a legend of the club in John Docherty before my time. I wasn't even born, but I'm well aware of the achievement he did, and we have to say bye-bye to, let's face it, another Mill legend. I always get nervous when Bomber comes back because just of all this fallout, you know, he doesn't deserve any of this, mate. He's a fucking hero as a manager, as a player. He gets the club, you know. He's Millwall. He bleeds Millwall, you know. And you know those comments that he said the other day, you know, it was hurtful. But I don't think it's enough for him to make him leave. It's something else. It's something up in the boardroom, I believe. But you know, we say bye-bye. He's put us in another good position. We are still in the top half of the championship. If the club can get the recruitment right in terms of a manager, we can probably, well, I say probably, hopefully we can push on. You know, not to jump down his throat already, but if we're looking at managers, I'd take Mark Robbins tomorrow, if we could. I know he just left Coventry, and what he done there, he done wonders there. I'll take him all day long, but for now, let's just enjoy the next 2 games with Bomber. I believe he goes after Saturday's game, and on to the next one. Sorry if I disturbed you. I know it's a Tuesday afternoon. I'm actually at work, so yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I hope you're well, Nick. Cheers, mate.
Hi Nick, Lawrence Binney here calling after the somewhat surprising news that Neil Harris is set to stand down as Millwall manager, stand down from his 2nd spell at the club, or 4th spell or 5th spell, depending on who's keeping count. I think in some ways this is a big surprise. I certainly didn't expect it to be this abrupt. I think we all heard Neil's comments over the weekend. They didn't sound like the words of a man who was very happy with how things were playing out at the club at the moment. But I really didn't expect it to be this soon. I thought maybe January or the summer. But no, something's obviously snapped behind the scenes, and he's off. I'm glad that he's leaving on a high. You know, we've just had a really remarkable run of form that's seen us quite solidly in mid-table now. I think at the start of the season, with or without Neil, I think my expectations were a relegation scrap. I mean, that could still be the case, but he's left us in a healthy position in the table, and I don't think we can underestimate the task that he had on his hands when he came back to the club in February, March, when we were looking like goners. He's got us competitive again. Made going to the Den again a real joy. It's brought that Mill atmosphere back again. He understands the club, for better or for ill. Mostly for the better, sometimes for the ill. But I really wasn't expecting an announcement this quickly. Leaving after the Middlesbrough game, I wonder if that's to give the club some time to get a replacement in, or maybe give fans a chance to say goodbye. I'm not really entirely sure what kind of appointment we'll be looking at. Obviously, the last appointment we made before Neil was with a different backroom staff. We've got a different director of football now. And it was Joe Edwards, who was inexperienced, naive, but definitely had some positive ideas about the kind of football that he thought we should be playing. So I'm kind of wondering what sort of manager we'll be after. I think one of the downsides perhaps of Neil coming back to the club is that I think the club sort of gets subsumed within Neil's identity a little bit. He becomes a talisman of the club, and I think maybe we saw that there was a conflict between those who were appointed in loftier positions having their ideas about what direction Mill Football Club should be going in, and the sort of more small C conservative direction that the tried and tested formula that Neil adopted. We'll see. Personally, I quite like Matt Bloomfield at Wycombe Wanderers. Sort of plays the kind of football that we like, with one or two of our old boys down. I know Fred Onyedimna's there at Wycombe. Fast attacking football. None of this sort of side-to-side stuff, but incorporating a bit more of a progressive philosophy into it at the same time. But we'll see. This doesn't feel like a curtain call, really. I don't think. I think we'll see Neil back again at some point. I'm glad that he's left on a high. And this is a glad he came back and we had him, rather than a sorry that he's gone kind of goodbye, I think. He'll always be a legend at the club. All right, cheers, Nick. Bye.
Achtung, Millwall.
Hello?
Hi Nick, David Liederkramer here. Like everybody, I am pretty stunned by the news that Neil Harris is going to step down after the Middlesbrough game. Just a few initial thoughts. It's been evident for a while that he and the board have not really got on. He was brought back as head coach, and I think that Neil likes much more control of that. I think the other point is that he clearly has a very good relationship with the older players, but whether or not the board think that that's the way forward is debatable. Similarly, Jimmy Berylson clearly has a very different approach to that of his father. Jimmy obviously looks at a different business model, wants to bring on younger players, sell them, and hopefully reinvest most of the proceeds in the team. John was much more paternalistic, kept on with players like Jed Wallace and even Zian Fleming, and Jimmy clearly wants to do his own thing. The big question, of course, is who we're going to get in to replace him. There are a few candidates out there. My own preference, for what it's worth, is I think somebody like Mark Robbins would be a great fit. I think he's a very loyal manager, shown himself to be really plays good football, gets his teams to play good football. But of course, is he going to come south? He obviously was manager at Coventry. It's not exactly a northern outpost, but you know it would still be a move. Other names I've seen are Steve Cooper, not also a good manager, but again I'm not sure he'd want to come. And you've got a few of the other suspects. Gary O'Neill, possibly, if he gets the boot at Wolves, has apparently got a Millwall affinity from when he was younger. But anyway, the last thing I have to say is I'm sure, like everybody else, a bit sad. He did a great job for us. Rescued the club last year. We'll always be grateful for that. We'd, I think, definitely be in League One without him. So he certainly goes with my good wishes, and I'm sure everybody else's. Let's see what happens. Come on, you Lions.
Hello, Nick. Matt Richards here. Oh, bloody hell. What a club. What a club. I don't know, I was thinking about phoning in or wasn't sure whether to or not, because I feel as if I just need to kind of get it off my chest, really, and I need to then do some work today. What is going on? What is going on? Don't know where to start, really. It's look at Neil Harris's record since he joined us last year. I suppose I'll start there. Look at the results. Look at what we've done form-wise. Yeah, okay, so the last couple of games, and the last couple of games haven't been great. But you look at all the injuries, and yet, you know, he's fallen out with the board, with JB or Gallen, and why can't they find some way of backing him or supporting him and getting him on side? It's just total and utter mismanagement from the very top. It had, you know, I mean, the cracks have been there, I suppose, since the summer, and clearly they've widened or they've closed up, and then just been papered over, really. When you think about the situation going back to even Rowett when he walked, you know, he walked. You know, the club mishandled that, and we weren't ready for it. Then we appoint Edwards, and we know how that turned out. Then we get rid of Kavanagh and Aldridge, and now we've got rid of Harris. You know, it's I'm just really worried, really. It's who's in charge, and do they know what they're doing? It's a massive concern, and what I would say is that there is no other Neil Harris waiting in the wings that will come and save us when it all goes tits up again in 6 months' time. And now we've got the farce, absolute farce. We're a laughing stock. So we've got a farce of a manager who's left, he's resigned or walked, and he's in charge for the next 2 games. I mean, what sort of coach is going to be attracted to a club like this? You know, I'm just really, really worried, and kind of thinking, you know, we need to start questioning now the management, as I say, at the very top. Is this a calculated decision by... I can't believe James Bilson is wanting to get out because you believe, what they say about how important the club is to their family because of John, etc. But you just think either this is absolute ignorance, or it's and stupid, or it's calculated. I can't believe it is calculated, but you start thinking like that. You start thinking, well, is he looking for a get out? Because at some point the fans will turn against, the actual ownership. And that won't end up well either. So I don't know, mate. It's just I'm just absolutely gutted. I mean, no man is bigger than the club. So I think probably Neil Harris is probably in a better place, really. I know he loves the club, but good luck to him in the future. He hasn't done his profile any bad. What he's done here, so he'll probably get a decent job eventually. But I just worry about the club we love. Worrying times, anyway. That's it, Nick. Yeah. Cheers, mate. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Nick, hi. Matt Webb here. Well, not only have you got 3 games to cover this week on Achtung Millwall, you've now got to deal with the imminent departure of Neil Harris. Busy week for you, mate, before the Christmas period. So it's not just the players and the management that are busy at this time of year, so is Achtung Millwall. Anyway, listen, I didn't send a voice note over the weekend, mate, because I actually didn't go to the game, so I didn't comment. But if I'm honest, I think the writing was on the wall that something was bound to happen with the club after the post-match comments. But there is more. I feel there's more to it than that meets the eye with Neil Harris and the club and the news today that he's leaving after the Middlesbrough game. I see it from the sense that when he came into the club, he was offered 18 months and his main goal was to keep Millwall up in the Championship, especially this season, what with the additional financial reward that Sky was bringing to all the Championship clubs. And you know what? He did it. He succeeded. And, forever in our debt he will be for doing that. However, like a player that comes to the end of their contract, a manager not knowing where he's going to be come the end of May, it sparks a concern, because obviously if he doesn't know where he's going to be at the end of May, as I just said, he's not like a player that can just go and find another club and be part of a 25-man squad, 30-man squad. There's only one position available for a manager, and and he can't be picky really as to where he goes. He would have to see where is available. And so I think that stems a little bit of frustration from his side and from the club side, where they're probably saying to him, do you know what? We're not going to renew your contract, or B, they haven't told him whether he's going to renew his contract or not. Hence why I think we have seen as fans frustrations from him via the media outlets. I'm not saying he's done this deliberately, but you kind of think, well, has he forced the arm of JB to relieve him of his duties now so that he can spend the next 5/6 months, A, recharging his batteries, but B, allowing himself and his agent, because managers have agents as well, to seek the next adventure for him. And I did message you privately, Nick, about this, and I think that's what I think the board has done. They basically, and I think they've done this more to say, you know what, we're not renewing your contract in the summer, but we want you to go and find another club elsewhere. And I think I do think that's probably the reasons why we've seen frustrations from Neil. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and we get that. But again, the comments on the weekend probably didn't help matters. So you know what, fair play. He can leave, I'd say, on a high. Where we are and the form we're in. And, you know, thanks very much, Neil. And, you know, good luck to whatever challenge you face next. That's all I can say. I wish him all the best. Now, obviously, the £1 million question is, and everyone is saying, well, who are we going to get in? Who are we going to get in? There's going to be a bank of managers that Gallen definitely, and Fairbrother and Berylson Jr. have probably got. You know, and there are managers out there and coaches even that are out of a club at the moment. But it all depends on A, the ambition of JB, B, how much money we've got to afford for this manager. And I think that's gonna and that's the reason why we're going to be quite active in the transfer market as well come January. And I think that interview from Gallen sort of like was spearheading. Like we're going to get. I do think SA will go in January, but obviously with the recall loan for the end of the season, that's a good bit of business. Will that help fund for the new coach to come in? You know, if you're looking at wages, you know, Cooper, Gallen, not Gallen, sorry, Wagner has been bandied about. You know, managers and coaches of that ilk are going to come at a cost. You know, I don't think we're going to be going down Cheap Street anymore, and I don't think the board and want to go down Cheap Street. So I think they're going to try and push the boat out and get someone that is going to be of value to come and be the first team coach of Millwall Football Club come after post Middlesbrough. So, you know, listen, it's just my opinion. I don't know nothing. So I don't know nothing, but, you know, I don't know the ins and outs of the club. But am I shocked to see him go? Not really. Not especially after of what happened on Saturday. And, you know, as I said, I wish him for the best. And I think this will do him good. He hasn't got to worry about the next venture for a little while now, because I'm certain there'll be a severance package that the club have put in with him. And so I wish him all the best. I will say, though, that I do believe that it shouldn't just be him going. I do think we need a complete shift change in the backroom staff as well. And that includes Adam Barrett. Livermore obviously will go with Neil. Marshy, well, I mean, I don't know, he could stay, but definitely more shift. I think Adam Barrett needs to serve time as well with the club. Again, wish him all the best. But yeah, now you've basically made your bed now. Hierarchy at Millwall. Now you've got to lay in it. You've got to bring in someone that has got to win over the fans, and you know, share the same ambition as what you guys want, and also what most of the fans want to succeed Millwall top 10. You know, we've been nearly men under a certain Gary Rowett. Let's stop being the nearly men. Let's actually start challenging. There's still plenty of the season to go, and you know, you've got to be ready for this. So watch this space. But final thought is, thank you, Neil. Thank you for keeping us up. Thank you for getting us as far as you've got us. I wish you all the best. Come on, lines.
Yeah, good evening. Good afternoon, Nick. So I'm still in my sick bed of chest infection. Yeah, very sad news, but a great player and great legend always will be. But when you say things to fans, and James Brailsford didn't like it, and now he stepped down, whether he's been sacked or he's walked, or the fans got on his back. I'm not saying I'm the 5%, but Oxford away, I was quite frustrated about the subs and playing his mates. And now he's just couldn't take it. He's walked away for the second time now. So I'm glad he's kept us now. Now, I'm all along now. Millwall, I can play 4-4-2. Don't know why it's never the next two games. That's what I don't understand. Yes, sad day. But in a way, hope that Millwall now can just change the winning play. 4-4-2, exciting. More than one goal. Like Edwards was trying to do. We ain't got the players yet. Tanker might leave. SA's going to go. Are we fucked? I don't know, but a new manager in the charge, maybe playoffs. Havertz just couldn't do it as a manager. Sad news, yes. but happy in a way that now Millwall can move forward. Bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.